All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Greg Gibson. I'm the Director of Operations here at Sun and Fun. We'd like to welcome you here to the 42nd Annual Sun and Fun International Flying and Expo. And this is Victory's Arsenal Theater. It's kind of a small affair right now. We're looking to expand this as we go forward. We're glad to see so many of you turned out to join us today. And for this installment, we're very fortunate. The first time in the Southeast that this aircraft's been exhibited, the F-35 Lightning II right here. And I've got Major Tom Osborne here. Pyro is one of the pilots of the F-35, and Pyro, I think you know a lot more about this airplane than I do, so I'm going to let you take it away.
Thanks, Greg, for the introduction. Welcome, everybody. This is the F-35A, as you mentioned. I'll just give you a brief description of the airplane, where we are with the program development, and then we can open up to questions from there. So, the F-35 is a joint program with the Air Force, the Navy, and the Marine Corps, and then some partner nations. So with that, they decided to go with 3 variants of that. So this one is the F-35A, which is for the Air Force. So it takes off and lands normally like a normal airplane. The Marine Corps has the F-35B, which is the one that does the vertical takeoff and landings, kind of like the Harrier, if you're familiar with that. And then the F-35C is for the Navy version, which has a larger wing for carrier ops. It's beefed up for carrier ops as well. So those are the 3 variants. They have the same software, the same capabilities from that standpoint that I'll get into here in a minute. So a lot of people have been asking me, when's the demo going to happen? We're not doing a demo, we're just doing a static display. Part of that is the airplane is still in development and testing, and they're just kind of fine-tuning it right now to finish the product that the government contracted Lockheed to make. So that should be out in 2018. So right now we have an interim tape for the software that we're flying. So everybody's heard about some bugs, this, that, or the other. So there are a few because it's an interim tape. It's not the final product. So part of that's why we're not doing a static. Once we get the full product, then the Air Force will set up a demo team at some point in the future, have a demo pilot that'll go out and do this. So that's when you guys will be able to see that. So it is an interim tape, like I said, but it is pretty capable from my perspective. For me, I flew the F-16s prior to the F-35, and so I can kind of compare that to this airplane, which is really not an easy comparison because the F-16 doesn't have anywhere near the capability that this airplane has. So the Air Force is going to declare that it's operational capable sometime this winter, even with the interim tape. And part of the reason they're doing that is because the software is at a point where it is stable enough and it has the capability that we can go ahead and go operational with while we wait a couple years for the final product. So that's a good news story overall. So why the F-35? What does it do? Why is the government buying it for us? So the F-22 was designed specifically as an air-to-air fighter. So it goes out there and it looks for air threats, other airplanes out there, and it looks to clear them out to get other airplanes in. And this airplane is going to complement it. So it has all the capabilities of the F-22. It's stealth, but it was designed to do air-to-air, but also primarily look for threats on the ground. So we're there with the F-22s. We're going to complement them to clear a lane wherever we're going. So these airplanes were designed to go into highly defended areas, so they have advanced air threats on the ground, surface air missiles that look to shoot us down and other airplanes down, whether fighters, bombers, or what have you. So the F-22s focus on the air. We're there to help them with that, and then we're looking for those threats on the ground, try and find them. With our stealth, we're able to evade them, and we can pick and choose what fights that we want to do based on what our mission is. So unlike the F-16 that I used to fly, I didn't necessarily get to pick the fights that I wanted to go into. The adversaries kind of chose that if they come after me, then I would have to handle them. But now, if they don't know I'm there, I can choose whether or not I need to engage. So that gives me the freedom to move throughout the battle spaces I need to accomplish my mission, whether that's getting myself in somewhere where I can strike targets in highly defended areas, or whether that's in conjunction with the F-22 clearing a lane out for 4th gen assets, so F-15s, 16s, 18s, A-10s, or whatever else to get into environments they couldn't get into before. So that's kind of what this airplane is going to do, and it's going to be really good at it. The F-16 that I flew kind of did that mission with this limited capability, and the F-35 is going to be way better and then have that freedom of movement that other airplanes did. So that's why the government's buying it. For some more specific things, so it is stealth. So stealth doesn't mean invisible, it means extremely hard to detect, and it's pretty good at that, so that is enabling that freedom of movement. Up at the front, you've got the radar. It is very, very capable. It can see a lot of targets, and it can see them a long ways out, and that's kind of the front end there of building that information. So this airplane, not only can people not see it, but it's going to see everything out there, and it's going to give me as a pilot situational awareness on what's going on in the battlefield so that I can make my decisions very effectively. So the radar is a big part of that, detecting all those threats out there, and then providing it to the computers and other sensors on board to build that picture to provide to me. So the F-16, I had a radar, and I had other things, and then I had another screen that would show me if somebody was targeting me with their radar, whether a surface side or another airplane, and I had another screen that would show me where my teammates were, and I had to look at all those individually, and then me as the pilot had to be the processor, fusing all that information together to build a mental God's eye view picture of what was going on, so that I could then make decisions and go from there. This airplane, like the F-22, it does that for me and provides me that data. So me as a pilot, I can focus all my attention on decision making, which is going to help me to be more effective in the missions. It's going to help me to help other airplanes out that don't have that information as well. So it's a super enabler for me as a pilot to be able to process and apply information that I get.
Pyro, while you're taking a sip of water there, these aircraft, just some of the evolutionary process you see as they come through from the 70s and with the F-16 and into the 80s and 90s, you see some transition into twin-engine aircraft for larger support, and now all of a sudden we're starting to see, now this aircraft has got just like one huge nozzle in the back. Is it a single-engine aircraft? Is there more going on under the hood, or is that something you can even talk about?
Yeah, so it is a single-engine airplane. It's got a big motor, and it puts out about 39,000 pounds of thrust by itself. As to the reason they went with a single engine, I don't specifically know. Obviously, an engine is a decent part of their price tag. They know having one is a little cheaper than having two, so that may have gone in there. Also, the F-16 was a single engine. I flew a single engine, and over the course of the time, the 70s, 80s, 90s, the technology has gotten a lot better, which has made the engines a whole lot more reliable. Just like with a lot of airlines, it used to be 4 engine standard. Now they pretty much all have 2 because it's a whole lot more reliable. So the same thing with this. We've got one engine that's very reliable, and it's going to be a little more cost effective too. So that would be my message as well.
Makes sense. Now, as a pilot, and I'm sure we got some pilots in pilots, hands up. We got pilots in the group in here. All right, great. Operationally, what's it like to fly the thing? What does that mean? Just seriously, you sit in the cockpit, and is it stick and rudder? Is the computer doing the work? Tell us about that a little bit.
It's the computer doing all the work, so it's very easy to fly. So actually started out over in Plant City, just west here, flying 172s or 152s as a teenager, and then transitioned to the Air Force. I flew the T-62 and the T-38 training, and then I flew the F-16. And this is easier to fly, take off, land, fly around, do instruments than any of those airplanes. So it's the computer doing all that. I have a side stick over here. I've got 2 pedals, which we don't call them rubber pedals anymore. They do all, and the computers decide what is the best way to get me y'all. Because he wants y'all because he pushed the pedal, and so it may move the rudders, or it may move any one of these other flight controls out here, whether it's the tails or the wings, to do what I commanded. So it's doing some crazy stuff, which that enables some of the crazy maneuvering that you can see the F-22 do as well, because it's deciding what to do. So it's not intuitive based on the input you put in, but it's easy to fly, and it's intuitive as the pilot to fly.
So you get in there, and it says, so like the Knight Rider music kicks up and all that kind of thing.
No, I have to bring my own.
Oh, you gotta bring it. Okay. Never said it. I'm sorry.
No. But yeah, Yeah, so it's really cool. From the flying, it's really awesome. So all that stuff I just described to you as a fighter pilot, that's really cool to get in there and to have that information, and it just makes me look better as a pilot. Of course, I'm better than Gene standing over there, so he's trying to play catch up. But anyway, where was I going with that? But yeah, so it's really awesome to fly because it enables me to do that a whole lot more. And then compared to the F-16, those flight controls doing that thing, it gives me a whole lot more maneuverability that I never had in the F-16 to do some of those things that you can see the Raptor do that the F-16 just cannot do. So it provides a whole lot of maneuverability with that, which is just really awesome to go out and push a full left pedal, stick back and aft, and then the plane just starts doing some of the stuff that you see aerobatic airplanes do that you can't do in an F-16. So it's really fun and puts a smile on my face in there each time I do that.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. And it's certainly just a technological marvel to see these things coming through the military program. Now, maybe a couple of questions from the audience out here. You guys got something you'd like to ask? Don't be shy. His name's Pyro. Doesn't mean he's going to do something. Here we go.
What's your payload?
What's the payload, sir?
Okay, so the payload, you got 2 weapon bays, left and right under there. Right now we can put up to a 2,000-pound bomb in each of those, and we can carry missiles. And then as we move forward and get to the final software that I mentioned earlier, we're going to be able to put external weapons under the wings as well if we don't need that stealth config. So carry 5,000 pounds up to 2,000-pound bombs and a complement of missiles to go with that.
Yes, sir. Have a gun, machine guns.
It does. It's got a 25 millimeter cannon over here on the left side of the fuselage. The F-16 had a 20 millimeter. This one's going to have a 25 millimeter gun as well.
I got one.
Go ahead.
Software. All right, we're talking about software there. What happens when your software says, I'm going to take a nap when you happen to be in flight?
So,
Is that red handle? Or?
Well, hopefully it doesn't come down to that, but everything they put in here is redundant as well. So there's 3 flight control computers that also manage everything else. There's 2 generators, and a primary and a backup generator, and you have batteries for everything else. So you can lose everything and go down to battery, and then you got upwards of 15 to 20 minutes to go back and play it before you do run out of juice. If ultimately you run out of juice, it's
That's when they're ready. Yes, sir.
Say again?
Cost of the aircraft.
The question was, what's the cost of the airplane? I'm not sure what it is each year. The cost is going down per model as they're getting the development finished. They're buying more. I did read something in the news just a few weeks ago that their goal is to get below 80 million a copy here coming up, but I'm not really know for us. That's just what I know from the news.
Yes, sir. They're in.
Question was, how does the vertical takeoff model work? So, as a layman, when it comes to that, I'll try and describe it for you. So, you can see the business in here of the nozzle here. So, for the F-35B or the Marine variant, it has some mechanisms in there where that nozzle is going to rotate downward like this. And then up behind the cockpit, they have what they call a lift fan that is probably about the size of this nozzle, which there's doors above and doors below it. So when they transition to that mode, those doors open and then that lift fan turns on. So now you have 2 points of thrust, one being the nozzle and the other being the lift fan that's driven by the engine. And so that's what provides that hover, that slow speed capability. And then again, it has all of the digital flight controls that I'm sure are working hard, but that's how they do it. And then from my understanding, they point the nozzle in the back end to kind of steer the airplane, but I've never flown that one or been trained on it. So that's my best description of how that works.
Pyro, we got one behind you over here. Okay. All right. Another question, anyone? While they're thinking that through, hit stick, glide ring.
Yeah. So if we happen to lose the motor, then we can glide in and land. We've got the generators that I talked about. We've got the batteries, backups to help us fly. So we train to that every month in the simulator, and a lot of simulators leading up to training is that flame out, that safe landing. So with the engine out, the landing gear up, it gives us a 1-to-1 glide ratio. So if I basically lose 1,000 feet for every mile that I go. So 30,000 feet, I can go. Sorry, that's it's kind of geared down. So I can go about 30 miles from 30,000 feet. With the gear up, I get it's 5 to 7, so I get 5 miles for every 7 miles for every 5,000 feet of altitude loss.
Yes, sir.
Is this a vector exhaust like an F-22?
No, the question was, does this have thrust vectoring? And it does not. So this is a fixed nozzle. It does not turn in any direction. It just opens or closes based on the power setting that I select, combined with the cooling that the engine needs. So it's just fixed straight out of the nav.
The top speed on the aircraft.
The top speed is spec'd at 1.6 Mach and 700 knots. Me personally, I've had it up to 1.42 Mach.
Now the rudder's independent, or the rudders are variable, correct?
That is correct. So each surface, so the two tails, the two horizontal tails, the two rudders, the flaperons on the wings and the leading edge flaps, they are all flight surfaces that all operate completely independently depending on what the computer decides that it needs at the time. So it's me telling the computer what to do.
You know, we look behind us in the aircraft we fly, and if the elevators are split, we've got a problem. And that, in your case, that's cool, right?
That might be what you need to do,
Wow.
to learn how to do.
In the hat, yes, sir. Out ceiling, surface ceiling.
The surfacing is planned to be at 50,000 feet for the operation.
Yes, sir.
The question does this super cruise like the F-22? It does not. It does not super cruise. It's wasn't designed to do that. But what I can say is that is really good for an air-to-air roll. And while we can do that, it's not the primary. So it's not as important for us to do that, and it costs a lot of gas. So the F-22 can do that, but it burns a lot of gas. We are very efficient, and we can sit there at 0.95 Mach, not using a lot of power, and we can just go for like a long time that way. So that's really our happy place is 0.95, and it can just stay there for a long time. We can easily stay here for over 3 hours without breathing. So that is a huge capability coming from the F-16, where it was about an hour and a half. The loader time is very high in this airplane. We've done some exercises with other fighters, and every time we're able to hang out there a whole lot longer than everybody else is. So that's going to be huge for all those other airplanes that are relying on us for support in their mission, because we can hang out there and we can stay there to help them get their job done. How did I get the nickname Pyro? So. As a new guy in the F-16 right out of training, I went to Osan Air Base in South Korea, and then I was doing my initial mission qualification there, which is about a dozen rides. And then after that is when you get named. So typically, you get named via something stupid you did. Hopefully, it's a flying story, so they can tie to that. Otherwise, just something you did. For me, I was getting ready to fly one day, having a lot of problems on the ground, and I'll blame it on the airplane at the time. And then I was ready to go, and then I just suddenly smelled fumes, and I looked up, and I just see tons of smoke pouring into the cockpit. So shut the motor down, I climbed out. And then what they taught us from day one in pilot training was that you run away from the airplane and watch out for the fire trucks. Well, I didn't do that. I stood there, so not only did I get the airplane on fire, but I stood there with the crew chief and watched it until the fire truck showed up. So Pyro for watch the fire truck.
So your partner over there is James, and you're Pyro. I'm thinking you two guys shouldn't really be together.
Yeah, maybe not.
Okay, you guys stay far apart and away from the airplane. Yes, sir. The weight? Radar signature. What's the radar signature of the aircraft?
The actual radar signature is getting into something I can't discuss, so that's classified for obviously security reasons, but it's very small, and I can say that coming from the F-16, I'm extremely happy with how it works.
Other question back in the back? Yes, sir.
Okay, the question was how many Gs have I pulled? So in the F-35, right now we're cleared up to 7 Gs on the A model, so I pulled right up to that in this airplane. Eventually in 2018 we get the software to go to 9 Gs, so I should be able to get to that if I need it. And then for me personally, back in the F-16, 9.5.
Now you have suit compensation?
Yeah, so yeah, it's not Not that I'm Superman in there, so they set us up really well. So we've got what's called a G suit or speed Gs, and it's basically like chaps that go over your legs and over your abdomen, and they have airbags in them. So when you go to pull G, those inflate to squeeze your legs, and then me, I'm going to squeeze all the muscles in my legs and my abdomen. And what that's doing is keeping the blood up into my head over a period of time. So without those things, there's no way that I could do that without blacking out. So it's the stuff they put in there. It helps me to be able to do that.
Okay, other questions? Questions around the back? Yes, sir.
If you do black out from pulling G's, does the plane fly itself?
So the question is, if I black out from pulling G's, does the plane recover itself? Is that right? Not yet, but they are putting that logic into there. So I know some people that in the F-16 have blacked out and that have crashed. Just now within the last year, they've finally put that technology into the F-16. So that's going to save potentially tons of pilots' lives going forward. So basically the way it works is if you black out and lose control, the airplane is going to continue to do what it's doing. But the airplane knows where the ground is because it knows where it is. It has maps built into it. It also has the radars looking to kind of keep track of that. So when it hits a certain parameter and it thinks that it's going to crash to the ground, it's going to take, because it's all computer controlled, it's going to take over. It's going to repower the airplane, move the power setting, and get you back to straight level flight. And then hopefully, if you're blacked out within 30 to 45 seconds, you should regain consciousness and then be able to take over that point. So I think that's a huge feature coming from the F-16. I know guys that have perished due to that. That's not going to happen anymore.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I think the question was if nobody can see me, how are the other F-35 is going to see me that's flying with me? Okay, so we have a data link that talks to each other, that talks to the F-35s, and it reports that information directly, so we keep track. It tells the data link and radio communications where it is, so it keeps track that way.
That's how we do it this year.
Yeah, so I mean, I haven't flown with TCAS, but if you're familiar with somewhat familiar with that, it's recording its points. Obviously, it's encrypted and all that stuff as well, so not to be intercepted. The question was if there's an AWACS to an airborne radar. You see that's a big airplane with a big dish on top, so it looks over the battle space, sees all the radars. Yeah, so we will have a link with them. It's a system called Link 16, and so they can see that and they can push out tracks that will display on our scopes. The F-16, the F-15, the F-18, they all have that as well, and we are going to have that capability as well to see this.
Okay, up here in the back.
Is it true about that helmet that you put like the stuff like that in your helmet?
So it's a question about the helmet. I didn't catch it. Can you come back here where I can hear you? Okay, the question was with the helmet, will it have the heads-up display the helmet? And do you specifically mean like the heads-up display that's fixed mounted in other airplanes that we don't have? Okay, so in the F-16 you had a piece of glass up here that gave you all your primary flight information and targeting information, and it was fixed there. The F-35 doesn't have that. Our helmet is able to replicate that for me. So when I look through forward, it knows where I'm looking and it will give me all that information here. And then when I look away from it, obviously I don't see it because it's virtually here as I look around, but then looking elsewhere, it gives me the information I need for other threats and everything out there. So this helmet does it with two projectors that point right on the visor in front of me. And so when you get the helmet fitted, they got to take it and line it up to both your eyes, specifically to you, and so that it can be one image and you can see out there. So it does provide all that for us.
That is wild. All right,
It's way more math than I can do. That went into that.
Right. But you only have one projector in the steering.
Yeah.
So
that's yeah.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank Pyro for coming out. I'm going to let Pyro and Jason are going to work around here and talk to the crowd. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining us at Victory's Arsenal today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Thanks for coming out.